The transition away from home and into a college environment is a period that introduces students to new social interactions and expectations. However, some students fail to find mental ground during this change. Sadly, approximately 1,100 college students die each year from suicide. After a recent tragic string of student suicide deaths at the University of Pennsylvania, colleges located on the other side of the state may be feeling the pressure to implement new preventative matters to strengthen student mental health, and Robert Morris University of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania is no exception.
My role as the crisis counselor, I am here for day-to-day issues, so students who just are feeling overwhelmed and just need to talk to somebody that day. And I'm also on call 24/7 in case of emergencies. We also have a psychiatrist who's on campus 1 day a week, and so students who are interested in medications can also meet with our psychiatrist to do that. You know, there's rarely a day that our schedules aren't full. Last year, in our first year, we saw almost about 10% of the student body. So, yeah, I think we saw close to 500 students last year alone, which is just pretty unbelievable. You know, it's kind of one of those, like, if you build it, they will come. You know, there's a huge need. Mental health issues are increasing on campuses. Nationally, a survey came out from the American College Health Association that said they surveyed over 96,000 college students. So this is just college students. About 8.7% of students said that they've had suicidal thoughts, right? If we take that data onto Robert Morris's campus, that's about, roughly, if we use the 5,000 number, that's about 400 students. Okay, so 400 of our students have had suicidal ideation at some time, and that was at some point in the last year. Only about 1.6% of people had said in the past year they had made an attempt. So if we take that data to Robert Morris, it'd be about 80 students a year who have made some sort of attempt. Do we see 80 students a year, or do we know of that? No. We probably know of about 8 to 10-ish that we know of who have made an attempt. Residence Life, the counseling center, and the police work very closely in any sort of attempt. For instance, I'm on call 24/7. Should the police in the middle of the night or Residence Life find out about a student who's having suicidal ideation and who plans to make an attempt, Residence Life is going to call me in and the police in, and we're going to make sure, we're going to go meet with that student. If it's 2 a.m., we're going to come in, we're going to meet with that student. We're going to make sure they're okay. If we believe that the student is an active risk or they can't keep themselves safe, we take students to the Stoughton Clinic, which is in the Sewickley Valley Hospital, and they'll do a psych eval on the student. If there's a completed suicide, it's probably a little bit different, you know. We would focus then more on the other students.
We do these things called behind closed doors. We do them during summer training. They're meant for the new CAs. And the older CAs, they kind of act as like actors, and they put on like a show. And so it gives you that real life experience of like what to do. I know we had one, and it was a mock as if he had lost a relative, and he like was drinking and had a bottle of pills, and we just had to learn how to disregard any of that stuff. Note it in our head. Know like, okay, he has a bottle of pills, he has drank this much alcohol, like this type of stuff, but you don't say it out loud. And so it kind of taught us, like, if that were to happen, this is the way you handle it. I'm going to be a nurse, so it's kind of like it prepares me for it, like to have a lot of pressure on me and to be responsible for those people. I mean, yeah, it's a little bit of pressure, but I'd rather know what to do in the situation and be able to help them than just feel completely overwhelmed and not know what to do.
We are very much, you know, co-parents of students, you know, like, and so our responsibility is to say, we want to make sure that individuals are doing well while they're here, you know, because one, they're going to have a better college experience, and two, it's better for all of us, you know, like we see a thriving university too.
So we argue for a kind of community-based approach that has a number of components, and really you can think about the components as the school should be doing what it can to help promote connectedness and life skills and the kinds of things that are really kind of developed through a thoughtful student affairs programming system.
So really we need to be a campus community that is looking out for each other, because we can't just say like, oh, we have a counseling center, but the counseling center only works if the university as a whole and the people are really looking out for its members.
I think as a freshman mentor, it's absolutely my responsibility to always be there for a student regardless of what they're going through. We're taught from day one to let them know that we're their resource.
Like if they come to us and they say, look, can I talk to you, and you promise not to tell anybody, we have to say, if it's the type of thing where you can harm yourself, I'm obligated to tell someone, which makes me kind of sad because I'm afraid that someone's not going to come to me if they need to. But at the same time, I think it's good because we know like the right channels to bring it to.
There should be, multiple opportunities for students to connect both to, the sort of the general campus community, but to subgroups within the campus that might resonate and feel, sort of sympathetic to their interests and their concerns and their needs. At least, in fact, the suicide rate among college students is lower than the rate among non-college attending 18 to 25-year-olds. So being in college is, I think, a surprise to many people, is actually protective.
Just being a college student in general, but especially when you're a freshman, you're thrown into this new environment, you're away from home, and you might adjust well or you might not adjust well. So I think it depends. I think for a lot of students, making that adjustment is very scary. If they don't make friends and if they don't get involved, it can be discouraging and they feel alone and disconnected, and like this college thing that's supposed to be bright and shiny and awesome isn't, and that could potentially cause some problems for them.
I know I've never had to deal with it personally, but I do have friends who have gone through that, and it's scary. Like, it's such a touchy subject. My boyfriend's oldest brother actually committed suicide when their dad passed away, and it's the type of thing where like you don't know what to do about it. It's like it's like a hot spot, you know what I mean? And like, I know I'm a Christian, and being a Christian, it's kind of something that's not talked about because there's some that think if you do that, then you're not going to go to heaven, but you don't ever want to believe that someone wouldn't go to heaven.
We can't be afraid to talk about suicide, because the reality is that if I ask a friend about suicide, it's not putting it in their heads, right? So if I said to you, hey, have you ever thought about suicide? If you hadn't, you're not going to now just become suicidal. What actually research shows is that when we ask about it, it lowers anxiety, and somebody who might not have ever talked about it can begin talking about it for the first time. To be in a counseling center now, I don't know if I could always said like, hey, we really serve the students well, but now we do. We've got great therapists, we've got a great staff that is here to really support students well, and so it's a privilege to be able to tell students that whenever they're like come in for help, you're like, you're in a good place, like you're gonna hopefully find that here.
For more information on ways to start the conversation on suicide prevention, visit the JED Foundation website at jedfoundation.org.